Hi, and welcome to Tracing Your Canadian Ancestors at Library and Archives Canada. My name is Marie-Eve Robert, and I'm currently acting senior technician for genealogy with the genealogy unit at Library and Archives Canada. Before we begin, I would just like to acknowledge that Library and Archives Canada has offices across Canada located on the ancestral lands of the original peoples. Since I myself am in Ottawa, I am on the traditional unceded territory of the Anishinaabe people, and this community has a strong and traditional tie to this land, and we do extend our gratitude to them for allowing us to continue our work here today. As an institution, we are committed to listening and uplifting the First Nation, Métis, and Inuit communities, and ensuring that their histories are shared and that their voices are heard for many generations to come. So a little introduction to Library and Archives Canada. You might be wondering, what is Library and Archives Canada? So we are the combination of the former National Library of Canada and the National Archives of Canada into one institution. For you in the US, it would be like having your Library of Congress and your National Archives together under one roof. Our mandate is to preserve the documentary heritage of Canada for the benefit of present and future generations, and to serve as the continuing memory of the Government of Canada as well as its institutions. So we have 4 locations. So our main location is in Ottawa, which is what you see here in the little picture on the slide. And this is where most of our collection is situated and can be consulted. We also have 3 regional offices in Halifax, Winnipeg, and Vancouver. And what are our services that we offer to the public? So we do have on-site consultation. We have reference services, genealogy services, copy services, what we call legal deposit, where publishers can deposit copies of everything that is published, and access to information and privacy, ATIP for short, which means that there are some documentation that have access restrictions, but you can make requests for access to information and privacy to access it. And here are some of our holdings. So Library and Archives Canada's collection is widely recognized as the 4th largest in the world. What we hold are government and private archives, as well as published documents. This means countless documents, books, periodicals, photos, music, films. For example, in addition to 20 million books and 250 linear kilometers, in miles, that would be approximately 155 miles of government and private textual records. Lacey holds more than 3 million architectural drawings, maps, and plans. Some date back from the early 16th century. We also have many resources that I'll share to you today. Our government records, including census and military records. Another thing that we hold are newspapers from across Canada, including dailies, student newspapers, Indigenous magazines, and newsletters from various ethnic communities. So here I'll show you a bit of the navigation for our website, how to get to the information. So the image here I have is the page you get to our homepage once you get on our website. At the very top, we have, you'll see collection search, which is our main collection tool where you can search through our collection. However, not all of our genealogy related databases have been integrated yet into collection search. So it's something that's being done. And if we scroll a bit further down the page, we'll get to this section, the most requested. Most requested is what I like to call the command center of our website, which is where you can get to our different help pages. So there's 3 columns. The first one is collection. So you'll see there's a few titles. Search the collections. If you click on that, you'll get links to various search tools that we have. Research basics. If you're new to researching with Library and Archives Canada, I highly recommend that you read Research Basics. It's going to give you all kinds of tips on how to use the website and our search tools. Then there's Research Guides and Tools, which gets you to various research, thematic research guides. And then there's a few other things that are most popular links. So there's census records, A to Z research tools, which gives you all of our research tools, First World War personnel files. And finally, I have here in the red square, genealogy and family history, which is the page or the information we'll be viewing today. And then there's the services columns where you can sign up for a user card, ask a question, copy services, all kinds of services, and then corporate, which is more information on the institution. So if we click on the genealogy and family history link, you'll get to this page here, which is our main page with all our tools for genealogy. So you'll see there's approximately 9 tiles with our most popular subjects. So there's how to begin genealogy research, census records, birth, marriage, and death, etc. And if we scroll further down the page, there's more guides. So there's more than just those on the top that you can search by going through the pages. You can also, if you see the arrow, click on subtopic to select a specific topic. Or in the red box, there's a filter box. You can write a keyword to filter by keyword. The How to Begin Your Genealogy Research page that was the first tile at the top left. What you'll find on this page are research strategies for genealogy, our most useful genealogy researches sources, as well as research tips. And you'll also find links to family tree templates that I have here pictured. So if you want to use one of these templates, you can always do so. They're useful also for children because they have little games with them. So census records. Census records are the official records that count the country's population. And I would say that they're our most popular resource that we have for genealogy at Library and Archives Canada. So this is our main census records page. So at the top of the page, you'll see the green box that says search censuses. This will get you to census or census search tool, which allows you to search for several census returns ranging from 1825 to 1931, which have been indexed by name and digitized. So before you start researching census records, I would highly recommend that you read the general census guide that we have here on the first tile, which is where you'll find research tips for census records, terminology and abbreviations that are used in these records, as well as other related resources. So we hold a lot of records. So as I said, our database is from 1825 to 1931. However, we also have other older census records as well as other related documents. So we have a guide to this here in the middle, early census and related documents 1640 to 1945. The oldest nominal census, so census with name that we have, is a census of New France of 1666. And then the next 3 tiles, so pre-Confederation 1825 to 1867, Dominion of Canada from 1871 to 1931, and Prairie Provinces Census 1870 to 1926. So these are research guides to these census records that are indexed and searchable in Census Search. So here is an example of our Census Guide for Dominion of Canada 1871 to 1931. Here I split the page here in 2. At the top you have places to look. So in this section you'll find hyperlink. If you click on the name Census of Canada 1931, it will take you to the next page I have here on the right hand side that gives more detail on this specific census. You'll see it includes which provinces are included in the census because the provinces do vary from one census to another. You'll find a list of districts and sub-districts. So each census is divided by region. So that there's a district, which is the larger region, and then sub-district, which is further subdivision. So you'll find a list, the names, as well as sometimes some sections have gone missing. It is going to tell you whether or not it's there. And then there's a column heading. So sometimes the pages can be hard to read. If you wonder, what does this column mean? There'll be a transcript here. And then if we go back to the right-hand side of the image, so once you click on the name of the census, you'll have more further information, such as like the date the census was taken, more information on the questions. You'll see here for 1871, it mentions other schedules. So what schedules are? So census, there's several pages. Usually there's the first page with the name of the people, and often there were other pages with other information such as like agriculture, industry, etc. Most cases only the schedule with the names have survived, but in other cases we do have the other ones like 1871, and it's going to tell you how to access them. And you'll also find instructions to enumerators, which is the instructions that they had to follow when taking census, and statistical summaries. So all this talk about the census, and you may be wondering, well, why is this such a popular resource? Why is it so good for genealogy? Well, the reason census records are so useful is that they provide a wealth of biographical information on individuals, such as their name, their year of birth or age, the place of their birth, often their position in the household, their religion, their ethnic origin, etc. Each census has their own list of questions, so the information available in each census will vary. So some ask for year of immigration. Sometimes instead of ethnic origin, they just ask for person's color. They might ask for a person where their parents were born, their first spoken languages, etc. One thing when looking at census records is that you have to take all information you find in census records with a grain of salt. There are many errors and inconsistencies in census records, so it's a good idea. It's a good place to start your research, but don't just leave it at. So if it says somebody immigrated 1 year, well, it might not be the exact year that they immigrated, but it gives you an idea where to look. So here is our census search tool to search censuses from 1825 to 1931. So here you can search various censuses at the same time. So when you arrive on the page, this is what you'll see. There's an advanced search function at the top for more, if you want to do a more advanced search, but for most searches, you can just use the basic search. So you have the when section. You can select to search multiple census years at the same time, or just narrow it down to one census. And then the who section, you can search first name, last name. You have age or year of birth. I recommend if you're searching more than one census, just to enter year of birth. And then you can select a range. So you can select that exact year, 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, or 10-year range. I recommend usually that you set about a 2-year range when doing a search. And then there's the where. You can select a specific province or territory. If you select just one census year, the ones that don't apply to that census year will be grayed out, so you can only select the ones that apply to that census year. A few tips for doing research. For names, you can use the asterisk as a wildcard. For example, if you write for a name FRAN asterisk, you'll get results for Frank, Francis, Francois, Franz, Francisco, so anything that starts with FRAN. And that wildcard can be used in the beginning and or middle of the name. Also take into consideration, people often went by their middle name or use a nickname. So if you're looking for Elizabeth, you might also want to search for Lizzie, or if you're looking for Helen, you might want to search for Nellie, etc. Also, sometimes some names are recorded by initial or abbreviation. So Thomas might be, instead of just be T or THOS. And sometimes only a title was used. So you might have a Mrs., Mr., or Doctor, Reverend, or Widow. Also, for women, so women were often recorded by their husband's last names or just their husband's name. So Mrs. Joe Chang. However, if you're looking for somebody in the province of Quebec, in Quebec, women were often recorded using their maiden name instead of their married name. Another big thing that applies across all of our genealogy holdings is that spelling variations of names are extremely common in old records. So names were often written phonetically as they sounded to the person recording them. For example, the name McDonald, you might have it appear as MC Donald, MAC, or even M apostrophe, which are just three variations of that name. So even if these days you write it McDonald just MC, you might want to search the other variation of the spelling of the name. Here I did a searching for Lucy asterisk, last name Montgomery. For the year of birth, I set the year 1874 with a 2-year range. So it's searching from 1872 to 1876 for the year of birth. So this is the results page. Here I have 6 results only. However, if you have a more common name and you're searching across several years, you might have 100 results or more. In those cases, you can use the limited to menu on the left-hand side to further limit your results. If you want to limit to one specific year, then once you start limiting, you have other limiters that can appear, or you can go to the top, the blue box, modify search, to go back and modify your initial search filters. So here we're going to click on the first result, Lucy M. Montgomery. If you click on the name, it's a hyperlink that takes you to the records page. So this is what it looks like. I have it split in two. So the top is on the left-hand side, and then if you scroll further down, this is what appears on the right-hand side. So you have the digitized image of the census records. You can navigate to the previous or next page using the menu on the left-hand side of the image viewer. Or if you put your mouse on it, you'll have arrows that appear also that let you move. Some families are recorded on two pages, so the family might be split between the two pages. Then if you scroll down, as I said, you have what's on the right-hand side of the page. So you'll see all the information that's been indexed. And if you have at the bottom left, suggest a correction. So there's a lot of mistakes in indexation. Sometimes the pages are hard to read or letters look similar, and so mistakes make their way in. If you notice a mistake, you can suggest a correction. Once you send that in, somebody will look at it, and if we see that there was an error in the index, then we will correct our database. But we only do corrections if we didn't transcribe it properly. If the error is in the original record, we don't correct the original record. And then you see at the top right hand, link to this record and add to my research. If you want to save a link, you can click link to this record. It's going to give you a permanent link, which is better to use than the one from when you did your search to save the page. Or you can do add to my research. The website does allow you to create an account to save your research results. And here is the image a bit closer, a nicer view of it. So here, again, we're looking at Lucy Maud Montgomery. If you may recognize the name, she's the author of Anne of Green Gables. So here we have her at the bottom of the page, second to the last with the big red arrow. So this is the 1881 census. So you see Lucy M. Montgomery, she's 6 years old. She was born PEI, so Prince Edward Island. Her family is Presbyterian of Scottish origin, and she is going to school. Here she is living with Alexander and Lucianne McNeil. So in 1871, they did not state the relationship between the members of the household. However, we know from history that these are her grandparents, her maternal grandparents. As I said, sometimes these can be very tough to read. As you see this example here, it's not very clear. What happened is the census records were microfilm in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, and unfortunately, they were not done to archival standards. And these census records were in the custody of Statistics Canada at the time, and they did not keep the originals after they were microfilmed. So unfortunately, we can't get clearer copies. Next up, military history, which is another popular subject when researching genealogy. So generally speaking, there's no individual service record files prior to 1914, so prior to the First World War. Records prior to 1914 mostly consist of muster rolls and pay lists and officers' registers, which contain very little personal information. So when researching military history, you have to think by era. So there's a New France era where you have Carignan-Sallières Regiment, Compagnie Franche de la Marine, and Troupes de Terre. Unfortunately, we don't currently have a research guide for searching military in New France. If you're searching for it, you can use keywords in collection search, or if you need more help, you can send us a question and we'll be happy to help you out. New France era has been quite widely researched in genealogy, and a lot of books have been published. It can be easier to search through published books than archival records to start your research. Then there's the British colonial era. So this goes up till Confederation in 1867. So we have a lot of records that cover that era. So we have what's called the British Military and Naval Records, or RG8 C series that covers from the American Revolution to approximately the mid 1800s. And it's a wide range of documents from British Army in Canada, Loyalist regiments, War of 1812, as well as Canadian militia, etc. We have what's called War Office records. So these are records from the War Office in the UK. So these are documents that come from the British archives, what we have copies of. We have information on the War of 1812, Loyalists, as well as German troops that came to Canada during the American Revolution. We also have records for Canadian militia. And then there's service files that we do have exist for the Canadian contingent of the South African War. So that's 1899 to 1902, First World War, as well as the Canadian forces post 1919 up till 1997, including a Second World War and Korean War. So we have quite a few searchable databases as well as data sets that can be searched on collection search for military. So just to give you an idea, for Loyalists, we have the Carleton Papers, Loyalists and British Soldiers. So that's 1772 to 1784. Carleton Papers Book of Negroes, 1783. Black Loyalist Refugees from 1782 to 1807. Port Rosway Associates, and Ward Chipman Muster's Master's Office, 1777 to 1785. We have what's called the Military Medals, Honors, and Awards, and that covers 1812 up till 1969. We have a database for the War of 1812. As I said, South African War service files, we have them and they can be searched in a database. For service in the Royal Canadian Navy, we have a database from 1910 to 1941, which are ledger sheets, which are records of a person's service. We have personnel files of the First World War. We have war diaries of the First World War. So the war diaries, they're a diary of the unit, not for individual soldiers, but it gives you an idea of what each unit was doing on each day and where they were. And we also have a database with the service records of the Second World War dead. For individuals who survived the Second World War, while we hold their service record, they're not available online because there are access restrictions. So you would need to request an access to information to request them. So we'll view a bit of our First World War resources quickly. So here I have two pages. On the left-hand side is our main First World War page. So you'll see it's going to give you information on how to access all kinds of various records of the First World War. So military service files, death registers, war graves, and death cards, the war diaries, sailing lists, ship's logs, medals, honors, and awards, how to research personal papers, diaries, and correspondence, photographs, art, published sources, and otherwise. And then let's say you click on personal files, you'll get to our personal records of the First World War page. So here you'll have the green box, which allows you to search for the personal records. And then you have a help page that gives you more information on what the records are in the database and how to access them, how to read the service files. So when we talk about First World War, so there's the Canadian Expeditionary Force, or CEF for short, which are soldiers, nursing sisters, and chaplains. So those are where we have the service record and you can search. There's a few other records in the database that you can search but won't have a service file that you can see that's been digitized, which includes the non-permanent active militia. So those were militia that were just serving in Canada during the war for like guard duties or whatnot. You have the Royal Newfoundland Regiment and Newfoundland Forestry Corps. So when it comes to Canada, Newfoundland only joined Confederation in 1949. So back during the First World War, they were their own dominion. So we have the names of people who serve in the Royal Newfoundland Regiment and Newfoundland Forestry Corps included in the database. But these service records are held by the rooms, which are the provincial archives of Newfoundland, and the records are digitized on their website. And then we also have CF volunteers who were rejected at Valcartier. Valcartier was the training camp where troops assembled before going overseas. So if somebody was rejected there before going overseas, you can find them in this database, but there won't be a service file. And then there's also Imperial War Service gratuities. So some Canadians served not in the Canadian forces, but in the British Imperial forces, and they were entitled to a gratuity, which is a payment for their service. So we don't have their service file because they did not serve for Canada, but we do have their names in this database. So when searching for the Canadian Expeditionary Force, so the Army service files, they can be searched by name and regimental number and date of birth. Some files can be searched also by place of birth, place of enlistment, and unit. However, this information has not been indexed for all files yet. It's an ongoing project that we have to add more information to the database. And all Canadian Expeditionary Force, so all CEF files, have been digitized and downloaded in the database. So this is the search screen. So you see you can name, last name, regimental number, and date of birth are all set. If you click Show Advanced Search Options, you can search for the other details I mentioned before that we're still indexing. But I don't recommend using those at this point because they're not there for all files. So you might miss files if you're looking for with the others. And then the search results. Here I searched for Alexander Young Jackson. It looks more or less the same as we did as it was with census records. If you click on the name, it's a hyperlink and it gets you again to the result page. So here, as I said, we have Alexander Young Jackson. Most files will have a few different documents that are digitized for the file. So you see here on the left-hand side here, we have the attestation papers that are digitized here in white. And if we go to the last item, this will be the full service file. So most cases, most files have about 3 digital items, about 2 pictures for the attestation paper and 1 for full service file. So if we click on that, it's the color image, and this is a PDF file. So usually it's about 40 to 60 pages. It can be shorter or longer depending on the person. Once you're on the PDF, at the lower left corner, you have the option to print or download. But for the PDF file, you'll also see the 3 dots on the upper right of the viewer, and you can also save or print from there. And then you see again, if you go further down under the viewer record information, you'll see the indexed information. You can also suggest a correction, save a link to this record, same way as it was for census records. So attestation papers, those are contain biographical information, which can be very interesting for genealogy. I will see here, the questions can vary depending on when they enlisted in the military during the war, but most will have the same details. So you'll have the name here, Alexander Y. Jackson. Where was he born? He was born in Montreal. Who is his next of kin? It's Mrs. H.A. Jackson, his mother, and she resides at 67 Hollowell Street in Westmount, which is Montreal. His date of birth, so October, looks like 2 or 3, 1883. What is his trade? What's his calling? He's an artist. Are you an apprentice? No. Are you married? No. Are you willing to be vaccinated or revaccinated? Yes. Do you currently belong to the active militia? No. Have you served in His Majesty's Regular Army, Royal Marines, etc.? So do you have previous military service? No. Next record of importance in a military service file is what's called the record of service document or the casualty active service form. So this document shows in which unit somebody served and when, and also records transfers, promotions, and casualties. So here is an example of what this looked like, and this is how you know what a person did. So you'll see there's 2 dates on the document. There's the first column, which is the report date, so the date the report was written. And then the second to last column is this is the date that the event happened. And then you have from whom received, so that's going to name the unit. Then the next column is report of promotion, transfers, casualty, so it's the what happened. And then the place, so it's going to give a name of a place, typically in Canada or in the UK. If they're in the field of action, it's just going to say field. So it won't say exactly where in France or in Belgium they were fighting. For that, you'll have to take note of the unit and the dates and look at the unit's war diaries to see where they were exactly. So here we see that he arrived in England in November 1915. He embarked for France on the 20th of 1916. And then we see he's with the 60th Battalion, and he's admitted to hospital on the 4th of June 1916. Then the third document of importance is what we call the medal card. So this card indicates which service medal a person was entitled to. So there's two things that we're looking for, and it's the letters at the top right corner. So there's a big B, this means British War Medal, and a V, which means Victory Medal. So there would the B indicate here that he's entitled to the British War Medal, and V indicates that he's entitled to the Victory Medal. And the X, or most usually it's a check mark, but in this case they put an X, means that it was sent to the soldier. So whose file were we looking at? So A.Y. Jackson, he's one of the founding artists of the Group of Seven, here pictured in 1958. So he started the war as a private. He was digging trenches as well as fighting until he was wounded. And once he recovered, he was promoted to the rank of officer as well as war artist. And after the war, his career continued in a big way. If you ever come to Ottawa, you'll see his art is both at the National Gallery as well as the War Museum in Ottawa. A common question that we have regarding to war records is do you have a portrait style picture? People are looking for pictures of soldiers. Unfortunately, back in the First World War, no individual photos were taken of soldiers and put in their service files. Most pictures that we see of soldiers in their uniforms are taken by commercial photographers and paid for by the soldier himself or their family before they left for overseas. The only exception to this is First, Second World War service files. So again, most in Second World War, most files don't have pictures, except for a few men in the airmen in the Royal Canadian Air Force, where they were taking mugshot style identification pictures. Like here we have John Leslie Somerville with the Royal Canadian Air Force. Another source of information, if you're looking for military records, that would be books. We have official histories, general histories of the war, regimental histories, as well as local published histories. So those might be lists of names, biographies, and sometimes photographs of soldiers that came from a specific community, as well as autobiographies written by a person in the same battalion as the soldier you're looking for. Could give you an idea of what they were doing during the war. Next source that we get asked a lot about are birth, marriage, and death records. So those contain invaluable information for genealogy. With Library and Archives Canada, we don't hold birth, marriage, or death certificate because vital statistics fall under provincial and territorial jurisdiction. So for that, you need to know in which province the event took place and contact the provincial archives or vital statistics office depending on when it happened. However, what we do have is we do have a small collection of parish records. So churches usually record baptisms, marriages, as well as deaths and burials. So we do have a small collection, as I said. We have a guide here, parish and related birth, marriage, and death records. So you can see what is included in our collection. Now, our collection is small because it is not our responsibility to collect parish records. So parish records get sent to a variety of places. Sometimes the church keeps their own records. Sometimes they send it to provincial archives, and a few of them have been sent to us. Our parish records do include some documents for the United States. So we have some back from the New France era that cover Louisiana or Michigan or a few other areas in the United States in the 1700s. What we also have is an extensive library holdings of indexes of parish registers, which many are available in our genealogy room. We do have a few other databases related to birth, marriage, and deaths. We have one that's called Birth, Marriage, and Death Records in Canada, which is a few different collection of records that have been parish records that have been indexed. So you can search those there, but it's a small collection. We do have also a database for acts of divorce from 1841 to 1868. So in Canada, back in the day, divorce could also be enacted by Parliament. So those divorces we have records of and we can search in this database. Otherwise, most divorces were handled by the provinces. So those would have to look at provincial records. We also have a list of marriage licenses issued in Upper Canada and Lower Canada, so back in the 1800s, and marriage bonds for Upper Canada and Lower Canada. So these are small collections. Usually they're just lists. We don't have the actual record, but you can search in those databases. And each database will have a help page that explains exactly what records are included in the database. Another source that you can use to search birth, marriage, and death records are newspapers. So Library and Archives Canada collects print copies of select Canadian current daily newspapers, as well as ethnic newspapers, Indigenous newspapers, student newspapers received from Canadian University presses. We have over 200,000 reels of Canadian newspapers on microfilm, some of which are available online. And we also have a few international newspapers in our collection. So most of our collection is, although some are online, most of it is not online. So if you're looking for them, it's a good reason to come and visit us. We do have a guide on researching newspapers on our website, and on the handout there is a link to that guide. Next up, immigration records. So with Library and Archives Canada, we have about a dozen research guides related to immigration. So we hold passenger lists up to 1935. We also have border entry records. So border entry is the border between Canada and the US from 1908 to 1935. We have home children records. For those who are not familiar with home children, so these were children that were sent from the UK to live in Canada. They were usually children orphans or children whose parents were not able to take care of them. And then we also have database related to specific ethnocultural groups, such as immigrants from China, Russian Empire, Ukraine, as well as porters and domestics database, which relates mostly to Black Canadians. A few important dates relating to immigration. So there's no comprehensive list of immigrants arriving in Canada before 1865. Before then, it was not required for passenger lists to be sent to the government. If you're researching people who arrived to immigrate to Canada before 1865, we do have 2 pages that can explain how to research those records that we do have. So we have passenger list before 1865 French regime, so 1608 to 1760, and passenger list before 1865 British regime, so 1760 to 1865. Also, before 1908, people were able to move freely across the border from the United States into Canada. So if you're looking for someone who crossed from the US into Canada before 1908, unfortunately, there's no immigration records. And I believe the US started recording entries from Canada into 1898 approximately, St. Albans list, and those are kept by the National Archive in the US. And then if you're looking for somebody who arrived after 1935, those records have not been transferred to Library and Archives Canada yet. So those are in the custody of Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada, so IRCC. Just a note on our immigration databases. So at the moment, there are several individual databases, but there is a project to renew these databases. So the way you research might change within the next year. So this is an example of one of our current databases. So this is the largest database that we have for immigration. It's the passenger list of the Port of Quebec City and other ports. So it covers 1865 to 1922. So you'll see on the left-hand side of the menu, it gives you can have more information about the database, search screen, how to interpret results and obtain copies. And this is what the search screen looks like. So you can enter a surname, given name, ship, year of arrival, or date of arrival. So you don't need to use all search fields. You can just use surname or given name. And this is what a result page looks like. So this is one of our older databases, again, that will be reviewed. So you'll see the image of the passenger list page as well as the information. So here we're looking for James Westwater. He's age 28. He arrived on the Scotian at the port of Halifax. In 1912, you have a microfilm real number and a reference number. And in these cases, in the older databases, if you want to see a larger image, you can right-click on it and save a copy of the image. Related to immigration is citizenship and naturalization records. It's important to know in Canada, the Canadian Citizenship Act came into force on January 1st, 1947. Before then, Canadians were considered British subjects. What this means is that anybody who immigrated to Canada and was already a British subject did not need to be naturalized. They were automatically considered Canadians once they were living in Canada. For naturalization records, we have three databases for naturalization and citizenship records. So we have citizenship registration records from the Montreal Circuit Court, which covers 1851 to 1945. We have naturalization lists from 1915 to 1951, and naturalization records for Upper Canada and Canada West. So that's 1828 to 1950. Most records for citizenship and naturalizations from 1854 on are held by Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenships Canada. So we have the list from like 1915 to 1951. So we have a list of the naturalization, but we don't have the actual naturalization record. You would have to request that from the Department of Immigration. Related is also land records. So if after somebody immigrated to Canada, they often petition for land. For land records, we have a variety of records held at Library and Archives Canada. However, you have to know that in Canada, land is administered by the provinces. Most of what we have relate to the original transfer of land from the government to an original owner. Anything after that will be held by the provinces. So we have two main databases. So land petitions of Lower Canada, which covers 1764 to 1841, and land petitions of Upper Canada from 1763 to 1865. Lands granted in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, and as well as the railway belt in British Columbia, those are searchable in the land grants of Western Canada 1870 to 1930 database. So you have a variety of other records related to land that you can find on our land records page. And again, a wide range of land records are held at most provincial and territorial archives. The next source that we have are Canadian directories collection. So what are Canadian directories? So directories are almost like a phone book, but they give the name, address, and occupation of people in a city. So our collection covers all of Canada. So we have national, provincial, territorial, as well as city and county directories. A small number of them have been digitized in our Canadian Directories collection database. However, most of our collection is not available online. If you're looking for directory, a lot of directories have been digitized by other organizations. So sometimes local libraries, such as I know the Toronto Public Library has digitized the Toronto City Directories. In Quebec, the provincial archives, so actually even Census Quebec have the Montreal City Directories digitized on their website. So there's a few locations where you can also find them. I would recommend Googling the name of the city and then the word city directory. If you can't find it online, it's another good reason to come and visit us in Ottawa. And the reason why these are very useful, again, because it lists the address, name, and occupation, it can be useful to find someone between census years. So census were taken every 10 years, but if you're looking somebody outside of those dates, city directories are useful. It can help you find when somebody came into Canada. If they appear the first year they appear in a city directory, they probably came in the year beforehand. Indigenous history. So if you're researching the genealogy of the Indigenous peoples of Canada, we do have pages that provide information specifically on researching the genealogy of the Métis Nation, First Nations people, and the Inuit. Here, unfortunately, today I don't have time to go into each of these groups, but we do have pages that provide more details on researching government records of these groups. And our genealogy room. So if you come and visit us in Ottawa, so this is our genealogy room. This is where you'll find genealogy consultant like myself or my colleagues, where you can speak to somebody in person if you wish. Here's another picture of our room. So of our book collection. So in addition to all our tools that we have online, so we're on the third floor, and you'll see we have all these indexes, church records, and this census indexes, family histories. So if somebody published a family history or family genealogy book, you can find it in this room. We also have some documents published on microfilm and microfiche. And we also have access to some subscription genealogy websites such as Ancestry, Find My Past, BMS 2000, newspaperarchives.com. And also provide more information on a few of our research search tools. So we have Aurora. So if you're looking for published collections, so for books, you can use our Aurora catalog to research these books. So once you click on the page, so it's a Google-like search box for a quick search of all fields. You can also do an advanced search for more specific searching. If you need help with using Aurora, if you click on library links, so there's two locations. So either at the top or at the bottom middle, circled in red here, there'll be help guides. And once you find a book, this is going to give locations. Any book that are available in our genealogy room will have genealogy written next to it for location. And then there's collection search, which I mentioned all the way back at the start of the presentation. So this is the main search tool for our website for all of our collection. So again, at the start, you can just do like a keyword search, or you can click on advanced search. It'll get you to this page. So if you click on collection, so you'll see all of our databases that are genealogy related that have been added into collection search can be found here. Or you can also click on collections and fonts, which is the first at the top, to search for specific collections. On some of our help pages, so if there's records that are not in specific database, but are just part of archival records that you can search, it's going to tell you how to search for those records and what keywords to use. So we're going to give you tips on our information pages on how to do your search. Also, for a lot of our records are on microfilm. Any microfilm reel that's a CHRT, so a lot of them are being digitized by our partner website, Heritage Canadiana. So you can go to that website, heritage.canadiana.ca, and you can enter a reel number, for example, C-2574. If the reel is digitized, it will appear. Just mind that sometimes the reel titles you see don't really match the actual content of the reel. So sometimes they are incorrect. And you can view a lot of our microfilm for free on this website. And upcoming, Adisoke. We are moving. So Library and Archives Canada, we are building a shared building together with the Ottawa Public Library. So we'll have both our public services under one roof. It's going to be just a few hundred meters from our current location on Wellington Street. So it's going to be an innovative collaboration between a public library as well as the National Library and Archives to provide an enriched experience for clients, visitors, bringing together our diverse collections, offering exhibition and event space, as well as free and open access to millions of items, and Canada's rich documentary heritage. So for us in genealogy, what that means is that we're going to be transplanting our books and tools from our present room to our new room at Adisoke. So the planned opening is summer of 2026. We don't have an exact date yet, but it's coming very, very soon. So we're quite excited for this new building. And that's it. We invite you to come visit us in Canada. So currently we are looking at 395 Wellington Street in Ottawa, Ontario. If you do plan to visit, I do recommend that you visit our website beforehand to plan your visit. If you click the Visit Us page, you'll find all the details to help plan your visit. And that's everything. So now it's time for questions.
Someone's asking, do you need to log in to search census records? It comes up with a 403 forbidden access is denied.
Okay, so there is no need to log in. Unfortunately, we've been having a few technical issues recently, but if you try again a bit later, it should come back online.
Oh, okay. Perfect. In 1796, a man with my ancestor's name Ephraim Barnes was indicted for horse theft. Montreal Gazette published about his escape, and several private individuals provided a $200 reward for this man's capture and return. Are there court records available that far back or any other suggestions? So 1796.
Right. So court records are typically held by the provinces. However, for 1796, I'm not sure. I would recommend contacting the provincial archives for where the event happened. Uh, However, you can always send us a question. We can always look a bit further into it and give you proper guidance to where the records would be kept.
Perfect. Thank you. Where can I find RCMP records?
Right. So we do have RCMP, depending on the era. We do have an employment page where you can find information on some RCMP records. We do have a small collection of older records. Uh, More recent records after 1920, I believe. I don't want to give an exact date, but approximately, just like that, are still kept by the RCMP. But if you're looking for employment records, early records, we do have a help page for that.
Perfect. Thank you. And that 403 forbidden access denied, that comes up for other people as well. So it's just the website
Mhm.
having glitches.
Yeah, it's having glitches. Unfortunately,
Okay,
it's
it'll come back. Um, is the website available for people in the United States to use?
yeah. So it's available across the anyone to use across the world.
Perfect. And then someone's looking for two surnames in Ontario between 1825 and 1850. Can you please recommend vital record and land record resources?
Right. So for vital statistics for if you're looking for birth, marriage, or death, you can look with the provincial records, or depending on the era. So if you're looking usually up till the late 1800s, parish records would be the best place to look for vital records. And they can also search on or census records, or look through all of our genealogy pages.
Perfect. Thank you. I have family with the last name Murphy that immigrated from Ireland around 1820 to 21 to Quebec and later settled in Montreal. Are there any vital or church records available to search online?
Right. So I recommend going to our birth, marriage, and death records page, and then you can find our guide for parish records. See if we have any that are kept with Library and Archives Canada, or they might be, again, parish records can be at various places. Uh, so it might be at the provincial archives, it might be with the church still.
And that's the same for Hastings and Peel County?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
anywhere really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then the partnership is a great idea. What does Adisoke mean?
Yeah, so it means storytelling. So it's a word in Algonquin Anishinaabe. So it was chosen by community or first local First Nations communities, um, and again, it means storytelling.
That's beautiful. I love that. Okay. And is there a database to search death records for the 1970s?
So those are kept by the provinces. So each provinces have different dates that they made. Records are available to the public. So depending on where the person died, contact our province and see what records are available publicly.
Perfect. You flew through those questions. That was great. Yeah, so that was the last question that we had. So thank you so much for all this incredible information. And thank you everyone for joining us for a Tuesday afternoon program. For some of you, it was the day after a holiday, so a little busy, but thank you for taking the time out of your schedule. So thank you again for giving a wonderful presentation, and I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.